Absolutely. Here's an even more detailed and fully expanded version of the introduction, written in a fun, energetic, and informative style for your video about the 2015 animated movie Home. 1. Introduction ***. Friends, if you're in the mood for a fun, emotional, and totally heartwarming movie that you can enjoy with your entire family, then you're in for a treat, because today we're going to talk about Home 2015, an animated sci-fi comedy film that's full of adventure, friendship, and a lot of laughs. If you're watching this video right now, make sure to hit the like button to show your support. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, then a big welcome to you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on exciting content like movie reviews, behind-the-scenes details, streaming information, and more. In today's video, we'll be talking about the movie Home in detail, from start to finish. What is this movie about? Why has it become a favorite for kids and adults alike? Where can you watch it online or on TV? Who were the people behind the scenes that made this movie possible? We'll cover all of that and more. This video is going to give you a complete overview of everything related to Home, so I highly recommend you watch till the very end. First, we'll take a look at the storyline. Home tells the story of an alien named O, who doesn't quite fit in with his own kind, and a fearless little girl named Tip, who's trying to reunite with her mother after Earth is taken over by aliens. Together, this unlikely duo sets out on a journey filled with danger, discovery, and lots of funny moments. It's a story that celebrates the importance of family, friendship, and embracing who you really are, even if you feel different from everyone else. I'll be giving you a short, spoiler-free review of the story and telling you why this movie has become a modern animated classic. Then we'll dive into where you can actually watch this movie right now. Whether it's available on a popular OTT platform or being aired on a satellite TV channel, I'll give you the full details so you don't have to search all over the internet. Just sit back and let me guide you. We'll also talk about the production side of things. The animation in this movie is colorful, vibrant, and full of life, and I'll take you behind the scenes to show you how the movie was made, from the early stages of pre-production to the actual animation work, and finally to post-production where everything was polished and brought to life. You'll also get to hear about the music department and how the soundtrack added so much heart and rhythm to the movie. Fun fact, some really big names in music were involved in this project, and we'll talk all about that too. Speaking of big names, we'll also go over the incredible voice cast. Do you know which famous singer voiced the main character Tip? Or who gave life to the adorable alien O? We'll reveal all the actors behind the characters, how they prepared for their roles, and how their performances helped create such memorable and lovable characters. You'll definitely be surprised at some of the voices behind the mic. Next up, we'll cover the technical and financial side of the movie. I'll tell you about the budget, how much was spent on making this film, and how much it earned at the global box office. Was it a hit? How did it perform compared to other animated movies released at the time? All of that will be covered in detail. And of course, we're going to wrap it all up with some cool trivia and behind-the-scenes facts that even the biggest Home fans might not know. For example, did you know the movie is based on a book? Or that the design of the aliens was inspired by some really fun and unexpected things? I've got all those fun tidbits coming your way. So friends, make sure you stay with me throughout this video, because whether you're a longtime fan of Home or someone just hearing about it for the first time, you're going to learn a lot and have fun along the way. Let's begin this exciting journey into the animated, emotional, and hilariously unpredictable world of Home. 2. Plot and narrative ***. Alright friends, get ready, because now we're diving into the wild, heart-tugging, and super fun story of Home. This isn't just your average alien invasion tale. No. This is a story that flips the whole idea on its head and gives us a fresh, hilarious, and touching look at what happens when an alien meets a human, and neither one fits into the world around them. So the movie kicks off with the arrival of the Boov, a quirky, jelly bean-like alien race that's on the run from their mortal enemies, the Gorg. The Boov are not your usual scary alien invaders. They're cowards. Proud cowards. They specialize in running away, and Earth just happens to be their next hiding spot. So what do? They land on Earth, politely relocate all the humans to Australia and move right in as if they've just booked a hotel. They take over with this bizarre mix of childlike innocence and clueless arrogance, thinking they're doing everyone a favor. Enter our hero. Oh, he's a Boov, but not like the others. He's too eager, too friendly, too enthusiastic. He's the guy who throws a party and accidentally sends a galaxy-wide invite, including to the very enemy they're hiding from. Whoops. And just like that, O goes from oddball to outcast. He's now a fugitive among his own people, just because he tried to make friends. The Boov want nothing to do with him, and now the Gorg might be coming straight for Earth. Meanwhile, in another part of this newly Boovified Earth, we meet Tip, an independent and fearless girl who's been separated from her mom during the relocation. She's hiding out with her cat, Pig, trying to survive in a world where she's technically not supposed to exist anymore. She's not just brave, she's smart, sarcastic, and completely done with these clueless aliens. But she's also lonely and scared, and she misses her mom more than anything. Now here's where things get really fun. O and Tip cross paths. And it's not the kind of meeting where they instantly become best friends. Not at all. Tip wants nothing to do with O, and O is terrified of making things worse. But circumstances push them together, and what starts as an uneasy alliance quickly turns into one of the most unlikely friendships you'll ever see. And that's where the heart of the story really begins. The movie follows their road trip across a Boov-controlled Earth as they search for Tip's mom and try to avoid the Boov authorities. O has to learn what it means to really care about someone else, and Tip has to learn to trust again. Every moment of the journey brings a new twist, whether it's flying a slushy-powered car through the skies, sneaking through Boov cities, or finally uncovering the truth behind the Gorg and why the Boov are always running away. And here's the thing. While all of this is happening, the film never loses its emotional core. Behind the laughs and the colorful visuals is a story about being different, feeling alone, and finding connection in the most unexpected places. One of the key turning points comes when O starts to question everything the Boov believe in. He's been raised to think that fear is smart and running away is the answer. But through Tip, he starts to see that bravery isn't about being fearless, it's about standing your ground for the people you care about. And for Tip, the journey is all about hope. Her belief that her mom is still out there, that they can be reunited, and that things can go back to normal keeps her going even when things look impossible. And just when you think the story is wrapping up, boom, there's a twist. A big one. It's not just about running from the Gorg. There's a secret buried in the past, a misunderstanding that changes everything. Without giving too much away, let's just say that the so-called enemy might not be who we thought it was. This is where the movie throws in a deeper theme about assumptions, forgiveness, and making things right. It's clever, emotional, and beautifully unexpected. By the end, Home becomes more than just a story about aliens and humans. It's a celebration of differences, of found families, and of what it means to truly belong, not just to a planet but to someone's heart. The narrative plays out in a mostly linear way, but it's packed with emotional beats, wild detours, and character growth that keeps it engaging from start to finish. There's humor, there's heart, there's even a dance party or two. And all of it unfolds through the eyes of two total misfits who find strength in each other. So yeah, this might be a kids' movie on the surface, but underneath all the fun and jokes, it tells a story that hits home, pun totally intended. 3. Character development ****. Alright friends, now let's talk about one of the most delightful and heartwarming parts of Home, the characters. These aren't just your typical cartoon characters that show up, crack a few jokes, and disappear. No, these characters are full of personality, emotion, and real growth. They go through challenges, learn important life lessons, and transform in ways that make the whole story hit harder than you'd expect. So let's jump in and explore what makes them tick. First up, we've got O. Yes, his name is literally O because every time he shows up, other Boov say like they're disappointed or annoyed. And honestly, that says everything about how isolated he is. O is awkward, overly enthusiastic, and always trying way too hard to fit in. He wants friends so badly that he ends up causing chaos without meaning to. But here's where things get interesting. O's character isn't just played for laughs. His desperation to belong, his hopefulness, and his constant optimism actually make him incredibly relatable. He starts out as a total outsider, even among his own kind, but as the movie progresses, we see a shift. Through his friendship with Tip, he starts questioning everything he's been taught by the Boov. He stops running from fear, he stops trying to be like everyone else, and he starts trusting his own heart. By the end, O transforms from a clumsy outcast to a true hero, not because he suddenly becomes perfect, but because he learns how to be brave, honest, and loyal. Now let's talk about Tip. O may be the comic relief, but Tip is the emotional core of the movie. She's not your typical animated movie kid. She's strong, independent, and way more mature than her years. When we first meet her, she's completely alone. Her mother has been taken by the Boov, and she's surviving on her own with her cat, Pig. But underneath her tough exterior, she's just a girl who misses her mom and feels abandoned. Her journey is all about learning to trust again. She doesn't want to work with O at first. She finds him annoying, strange, and, well, very alien. But slowly, as she sees his sincerity and realizes he's just as lonely as she is, she starts to let her guard down. Tip's growth is subtle but powerful. She moves from being someone who pushes everyone away to someone who embraces the possibility of friendship, even when it's scary. And let's not forget, she teaches O how to dance. So clearly, she's also a great influence. The relationship between O and Tip is the heart and soul of the movie. It starts off rocky. She doesn't trust him, and he's terrified of making mistakes. But over time, their bond grows in the most organic, genuine way. They make each other better. O helps Tip hold on to hope, and Tip helps O find courage. They argue, they laugh, they learn from each other, and most importantly, they support each other through every obstacle. There's no forced romance or cliché bonding moment. It's a real friendship built on shared experiences, mutual respect, and a lot of trial and error. By the time they start to truly care for one another, it feels earned, and their connection adds serious emotional weight to the story. And we can't forget about the supporting characters, especially Captain Smek. He's the Boov leader, and oh boy, he is something else. Smek is the definition of a clueless boss who's convinced he's a genius. He waves around a staff, which is actually a bathroom plunger, speaks in half-thoughts, and believes running away from problems is always the best strategy. He doesn't evolve much, but that's the point. He represents the old way of thinking. When O finally stands up to him, it's not just a rebellion, it's a moment of clarity for the whole Boov race. O proves that you don't need to follow fear, and that even the smallest Boov can lead with kindness and strength. Tip's mom, Lucy, also plays a crucial emotional role. We don't see her for much of the film, but her presence is felt throughout Tip's journey. Her relationship with Tip is the emotional engine that drives Tip forward. The moment when they're finally reunited is one of the most touching scenes in the whole movie, and it reminds us just how deep the emotional stakes are. Even the Gorg, who seem like the villains for most of the film, get a twist that adds another layer to the story. By the end, we learn that not everything is black and white, and even those labeled as enemies have their own pain and reasons for their actions. It's a subtle but important reminder that empathy and understanding go a long way, even in intergalactic conflicts. So yes, the characters in Home are not just funny or cute, they are layered, flawed, and evolving. Their arcs drive the entire narrative, and their relationships give the movie its emotional punch. Watching them grow, fall, get back up, and finally find their place in the world is what makes this film not just entertaining but meaningful. It's a character journey disguised as a colorful alien comedy, and it works beautifully. 4. Performances ****. Alright friends, now let's talk about one of the most exciting parts of Home, the voices behind the characters. This movie isn't just animated with colorful visuals, it's powered by some seriously talented performers who bring every single character to life in the most fun, emotional, and unforgettable way. We're talking about stars who don't just read lines, they transform into their characters with so much energy and personality, it's impossible not to be drawn in. First, let's talk about the one and only Jim Parsons as O. Yes, the same Jim Parsons who made the world fall in love with Sheldon Cooper. In Home, he takes that quirky, lovable energy and blasts it straight into outer space. O is awkward, overly formal, super literal, and accidentally hilarious, and Jim Parsons nails every bit of it. He gives O a voice that's full of childlike wonder, but also carries this deep emotional undertone. You can hear O's desperation to belong in the way he speaks. Every awkward pause, every mispronounced phrase, every sudden burst of excitement, it's not just funny, it's endearing. And the best part is, Jim never plays O for cheap laughs. He gives the character heart, and you actually feel for this little alien who's just trying to make a friend and fix his mistake. It's a performance full of charm and warmth, and honestly, without Jim's voice, O wouldn't be half as lovable as he is. Now let's give it up for Rihanna as Tip. Yes, you heard that right. International pop icon Rihanna doesn't just sing the soundtrack, she voices the main human character, and she does it with total confidence. Rihanna brings a down-to-earth, street-smart attitude to Tip that's super refreshing. She's not overly polished or trying to sound like a typical animated character, she sounds real. That natural vibe makes Tip feel like a relatable modern kid with big feelings and big dreams. Rihanna manages to hit the emotional moments just right, especially in the scenes where Tip talks about her mom or faces something scary. But she also brings this sass and wit that gives Tip a unique edge. Whether she's yelling at O for being annoying or sweetly talking to her cat pig, her voice work adds so much personality to the film. And let's not forget the absolutely hilarious Steve Martin as Captain Smeck. This guy takes clueless leadership to a whole new level. Steve Martin brings a goofy, exaggerated energy that turns every line into comedy gold. His voice is so expressive. He flips between grand speeches and complete nonsense with such ease, it's impossible not to laugh. Smeck is supposed to be ridiculous, and Steve Martin makes him ridiculous in the most brilliant way possible. He gives the character a kind of theatrical flair that contrasts perfectly with O's nervous politeness. Together, their dynamic is comedy magic. Then there's Jennifer Lopez as Tip's mom, Lucy. Her role is smaller, but she brings a soothing maternal warmth to the character that makes Tip's longing to find her mom all the more powerful. You can hear the love in every line she delivers, especially in the final scenes. Even with limited screen time, Jennifer Lopez makes a big impact by giving Lucy a voice full of strength, love, and vulnerability. When Tip and Lucy are reunited, it's not just emotional because of the visuals, it's emotional because of the performances. Chemistry between the voice actors is another huge strength. Jim Parsons and Rihanna, though recording separately, somehow create this incredible back and forth that feels completely natural. Their friendship evolves through tone, timing, and delivery. You believe in their bond because you can hear it developing scene by scene. And while the cast is small, every voice is distinct and perfectly matched to their character. The performances aren't just good, they carry the entire emotional journey of the film. And here's the secret ingredient. None of the actors treat this like just a kids' movie. They commit. They bring layers. They give these animated characters depth and life and humor and pain. Their voices are what make us laugh, cry, and root for two total misfits who find something special in each other. So yes, the performances in Home are not just standout, they are the beating heart of the entire film. Without this cast, it wouldn't be the same colorful, emotional, hilarious roller coaster ride that it is. They turn what could have been a simple animated story into something that feels alive, personal, and completely unforgettable. 5. Direction ****. Now let's get into the captain of this whole cinematic spaceship, director Tim Johnson. He's the one who took this story, this galaxy-hopping adventure, and gave it a heartbeat. Without him steering the ship, Home wouldn't be the colorful, emotional, and surprisingly deep ride that it is. You can tell right from the start that Johnson didn't just want to make another animated film. He wanted to make something that would stick with audiences, something fun for kids but meaningful for adults too. And he does it with style, heart, and a really good sense of rhythm. From the opening scene, the tone is set. Bright colors, funny alien antics, and a big helping of energy. But underneath all the silliness, Johnson weaves in themes of loneliness, identity, and connection. That's the real magic. He balances lighthearted comedy with emotional depth like a pro. He never lets the movie get too heavy, but he never shies away from letting us feel either. That tone is one of the trickiest things to manage in a film like this, and Johnson absolutely nails it. It's upbeat without being shallow and heartfelt without being cheesy. Now let's talk about style. Johnson and his team took a bold visual approach with Home. The world of the Boov is full of bubbly shapes, vibrant tech, and wacky design choices. Cities float, gravity bends, and cars are powered by slushies. It's all so imaginative and fun to look at, but here's the key. It all reflects the characters and their mindset. The Boov's overly tidy, overly controlled world mirrors their fear-driven society, while Tip's chaotic, messy little bubble of freedom stands out like a rebel flag. Johnson uses design to tell the story visually, even when no one's talking. And let's not forget the pacing. This movie moves fast but never feels rushed. Johnson keeps the momentum going from scene to scene, making sure every beat lands. When we're laughing, we're really laughing. When it's time to get serious, he slows things down just enough for the emotion to hit. There are action sequences, road trip detours, dance breaks, and even quiet emotional pauses, and somehow none of it feels out of place. That takes serious directing skill. He knows exactly when to shift gears, when to give us a breather, and when to crank things up again. One of the most brilliant things Johnson does is create contrast. Look at the differences between O and Tip's worlds. One is alien and absurd, the other is grounded and human. But through Johnson's direction, they slowly start to blend. By the end, you don't feel like you're watching two different species. You feel like you're watching two friends from very different places who finally understand each other. That's a visual and emotional journey, and Johnson directs it all without hammering you over the head. It's subtle. Smart. It works. Another great touch? The soundtrack. Johnson doesn't just throw in songs for filler. He lets the music enhance the mood. When Rihanna's songs play, they don't just sound good, they reflect Tip's emotions and bring an extra layer of feeling to the scene. Whether it's a sad moment of longing or a full-blown slushy-fueled joyride, the music always fits. And that integration of sound and storytelling is very much a director's job. Even in the emotional scenes, like Tip breaking down or O deciding to do the right thing, you can see Johnson's influence. Camera lingers just long enough, the expressions are clear, the lighting softens. It's animated, yes, but there's a cinematic quality to it. Johnson directs it like it matters, and because of that, it does matter. You connect. You care. And finally, let's give credit to the storytelling choices. Johnson didn't go with a predictable hero saves the world arc. He gave us something more personal. The stakes aren't about world domination, they're about friendship, trust, and belonging. The emotional core of the film is small and intimate, even while the story spans galaxies. That's a bold move in a big studio animation, and Johnson pulls it off beautifully. So yes, from tone to pacing to the tiniest visual detail, Tim Johnson's direction is all over this film in the best possible way. He doesn't just show us a story, he invites us into it. And once we're in, we don't want to leave.
Cinematography ***. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in animated films but plays a huge role in making Home such a visual treat: the cinematography. Yes, even in a fully animated movie, there's such a thing as camera work. It may not involve a physical camera, but every angle, movement, and shot composition is carefully planned by a team of visual artists to give the movie its cinematic feel. And let me tell you, Home doesn't just play it safe. It goes full throttle into creative, bold, and sometimes completely wacky visual storytelling, and it works like a charm. Right from the beginning, the way the world of the Boov is introduced sets the tone. We get these sweeping shots of Earth being reorganized like a toy set, complete with pastel color schemes and rounded alien tech. It's like looking at the world through the eyes of a hyper-organized child with a thing for purple and bubble wrap. The way the camera floats and glides through these alien-modified cityscapes creates a feeling of artificial perfection. Sterile, efficient, and totally impersonal. But then contrast that with Tip's scenes, especially the ones in her car. The framing tightens, the angles shift to eye level, and suddenly we're back on Earth in a much more human world. The difference is subtle but effective. It separates the Boov logic from Tip's emotional journey. There are some truly standout visual moments in this movie. One of the most memorable is the slushy-powered car flight scene. Modifies Tip's car with Boov tech, and suddenly we're soaring above oceans and cities, powered by brightly colored slush. The camera zooms out to wide shots that give us the full scope of this wild ride, and then cuts to dynamic close-ups to capture Tip and O's joy and wonder. It's pure fun, and the visual flow keeps that energy alive throughout. The color palette is also turned up to 11 here. Everything glows, sparkles, and pops off the screen. But it's not just visual noise. It's carefully orchestrated to match the mood. Lighting plays a huge role in setting the emotional beats. Take the scene where Tip shares a quiet moment with O under the stars. Suddenly the neon chaos fades, and we get a still, moonlit frame where the stars above mirror the vastness of their journey and the smallness of their problems in the grand scheme. The light softens, shadows become more defined, and everything slows down. The visual stillness tells you that this is a moment of reflection. And then there are the darker scenes, like when O feels rejected or when Tip believes she's lost her mother forever. The lighting becomes colder, the colors more muted, and the framing gets tighter. These visual choices subtly pull you into the characters' emotional states without saying a word. Framing is another area where the film really shines. Take note of how often O is shown being physically separated from the group. In early scenes, he's framed off to the side while the other Boov crowd together. It's a visual way of showing us he doesn't belong. As he grows closer to Tip, the framing shifts. We see more balanced shots, with the two of them sharing the screen equally, often in motion together. By the end, when O finally finds acceptance, the camera treats him like a central figure, framed confidently, surrounded by those who once pushed him away. It's subtle visual storytelling that builds character arcs without a single line of dialogue. One of the most fun uses of cinematography in Home is how it plays with perspective. When we see things from the Boov point of view, the world looks absurdly mechanical and ordered. But when we switch to Tip's perspective, it's messy, chaotic, and full of heart. There's even a moment where O watches humans dancing, and the camera mimics his confused, analytical gaze. Quick cuts, tilted angles, and robotic zoom-ins. Then as he starts to understand the joy of dancing, the camera loosens up, starts to spin, and finally lets go completely. It's a joyful transformation captured entirely through movement and framing. Let's not forget the climactic scenes, where the camera becomes almost operatic. When O makes his big, selfless decision near the end, everything slows down. The camera circles around him, the lighting glows like he's standing in a galaxy, and the tension builds with a mix of silence and powerful framing. These are moments that could feel over the top in a lesser film, but here, they land perfectly because the visual language has built up to them. So yes, Home doesn't just rely on jokes or plot to keep you hooked. It uses cinematography in a smart, expressive, and often downright stunning way to draw you into its world. Every light beam, every color splash, every swooping angle is doing something. Building emotion, enhancing comedy, or turning a simple alien story into something truly cinematic. 7. Editing and pacing ****. Let's talk about the unsung hero of Home, the editing. It's the invisible hand that keeps the movie ticking like a well-oiled slush-powered spaceship. You don't always notice it, but it's constantly at work behind the scenes, shaping the film's rhythm, delivering the punchlines, and making sure the emotional beats hit exactly where they need to. And in this case, the editing team deserves a big round of applause, because Home never feels like it's dragging its feet or rushing to the finish line. It moves at just the right pace, keeping things exciting but never overwhelming, heartfelt but never melodramatic. From the very beginning, the editing sets the tone. The movie opens with quick, snappy cuts that introduce the Boov with a burst of energy and humor. Scenes flip rapidly between their strange, bubble-wrap technology and the confused, chaotic humans being relocated around the globe. It's like a comic book come to life. Fast, colorful, and full of zippy transitions. But even with all that movement, you never feel lost. The editing is tight, but it's also clear. You always know where you are, what's happening, and why it matters. That's not easy in a movie that jumps between alien perspectives, road trips, flashbacks, and emotional flashpoints. One of the film's strengths is how it uses editing to support the comedy. Timing is everything when it comes to humor, and Home nails it. Whether it's O's painfully awkward party invitation, his panicked escape from angry Boov, or his first encounter with Tip's cat Pig, the jokes land perfectly thanks to clever cuts and perfectly timed reaction shots. A beat too early or too late, and it could have fallen flat, but the editors know exactly when to cut away, when to pause for a reaction, or when to let a gag play out for maximum laughs. It gives the film a bouncy, playful rhythm that keeps younger audiences entertained while still slipping in smarter humor for the adults. But it's not all fast and funny. The film also knows when to slow down, and that's where the editing really shines. Take the emotional scenes between Tip and O, especially the ones where they start to open up about their fears and losses. The film shifts gears gently, giving those moments room to breathe. The cuts become slower, the camera lingers just a bit longer, and silence starts to play a bigger role. It's a subtle shift in pace, but it makes a huge emotional difference. You can feel the characters growing closer, not just through what they say, but in how the film lets those moments unfold. It's a beautiful balance between motion and stillness, and it keeps you connected to the characters without ever feeling like the stories come to a halt. The road trip structure of the movie also benefits from some very smart editing. Each new location, whether it's a supermarket in the middle of nowhere or the top of the Eiffel Tower, comes with its own mini-arc. The transitions between these places are smooth and well-paced. We get just enough time to enjoy the scenery, experience the challenges, and watch the characters bond, without lingering too long. The editors are like skilled DJs, mixing one track into the next, keeping the vibe alive and the energy flowing. Even the big action moments are edited in a way that makes them easy to follow. When O and Tip are being chased, or when Boov ships are zipping around the skies, it's fast-paced but never chaotic. You always know where the characters are, what the stakes are, and who's doing what. The editing doesn't go for dizzying speed or flashy cuts just for the sake of it. It stays focused on the story. And that's what keeps those scenes exciting instead of exhausting. Another great touch is how editing is used to reflect character growth. In the beginning, scenes with O are jittery and quick, matching his nervous, socially awkward personality. But as he grows more confident and more connected to Tip, the pacing of his scenes starts to calm down. It's subtle, but it mirrors his journey. The editors essentially adjust the movie's heartbeat to match his emotional arc, and you feel it without even realizing it's happening. And let's not ignore the musical transitions. With a soundtrack featuring Rihanna herself, the movie uses music as a bridge between scenes. The editors weave songs in and out in a way that boosts the emotional tone and keeps the momentum going. Whether it's an upbeat track during a car chase or a softer song during a quiet moment, the transitions feel seamless and purposeful. So while Home may seem like a fun animated movie on the surface, its editing is working overtime to make it all feel natural, engaging, and emotionally rich. Every cut, every beat, every moment of silence is carefully chosen to keep us hooked and feeling something. It's like the rhythm section of a great song. You might not always hear it directly, but you sure do feel it. Soundtrack and score ***. The music. Home soundtrack is a little secret weapon that quietly elevates the entire movie. You could watch this film without paying much attention to the songs, and it would still be good. But then you'd be missing out on how the music amplifies the emotions and adds an entirely new layer to the experience. The score, paired with the soundtrack, helps paint the world in a way that the visuals and story alone couldn't quite capture. And it all kicks off with one of the most fitting choices. Rihanna. Yes, the Queen herself contributes both the voice of Tip and some of the movie's most memorable tracks. And the way her music blends into the film's atmosphere is nothing short of perfect. From the first moment the movie starts, you get a sense of how important music is to the story. The score by Lorne Balfe keeps things light and breezy in the beginning, matching the quirky, cartoonish world of the Boov. Think bright, playful notes with just the right amount of fun, almost like a whimsical melody you'd hear in a children's book. But the thing is, it's never just background noise. It's a narrative tool. Every piece of music reflects the emotional beats, subtly enhancing what we're seeing on screen. Take the first time Tip and O share a moment of connection. It's not just the dialogue that hits you, but the soft, reassuring strings that play in the background, wrapping the scene in warmth. The music helps guide us into those emotional spaces, gently nudging us to feel what the characters are feeling. But let's not forget the heavy-hitting tracks that come in later. Rihanna's Towards the Sun is more than just a catchy song. It becomes an anthem for Tip's journey, the perfect backdrop to her search for her mom and her growth as a character. The song's energy, mixed with its empowering lyrics, mirrors Tip's transformation from a lonely, isolated teen to a brave, confident individual. The way the song is used to underscore her journey makes it feel like we're walking right alongside her, sharing every emotional moment. Speaking of Towards the Sun, it doesn't just show up once and fade into the background. It returns at key moments, acting as a musical motif that represents Tip's evolving hope. Every time it plays, it signals a shift, a moment of growth or change. It's a recurring theme that never feels overused, but rather a signpost that tells us, this is where Tip is now. The way the song rises and falls with the film's peaks and valleys is a testament to how carefully the soundtrack is woven into the storytelling fabric. Now let's talk about the quieter moments. Silence, or the absence of loud music, is just as important in this movie as the songs themselves. There are moments where the score pulls back, leaving space for the dialogue, the sound effects, or even the stillness of the scene. For example, when Tip is alone, staring at a photo of her mother, there's no music to tell us how to feel. The silence in these moments lets the emotion breathe. We feel Tip's loneliness because there's nothing to distract us from it, just the weight of the silence and the power of her expression. It's a simple yet effective way to let the audience experience the character's emotional depth. Then, when the film reaches its climax, the music swells again, but in a way that feels earned, not forced. The score ramps up as Tip and O make their final stand, using swelling orchestral sounds that perfectly match the high stakes of the moment. The music isn't just playing for drama, it's amplifying the emotional intensity of what's happening on screen. The combination of visuals, sound effects, and music creates a perfect storm of excitement, making you feel like you're right in the middle of the action. But here's the real magic: the way the soundtrack blends seamlessly with the story without ever overshadowing it. Every song, every instrumental piece, feels like it was handpicked for a reason. There's no random pop song thrown in for the sake of it. Each piece feels like it belongs, from Rihanna's tracks to the softer, more introspective score that underscores the quieter moments. The music never feels like it's trying too hard. It simply enhances the emotional impact of each scene. Whether it's an upbeat track that gets your foot tapping or a poignant melody that tugs at your heartstrings, the soundtrack makes sure the film's atmosphere never feels flat. Even in the more humorous scenes, the music plays a big role. Think of the quirky, fun rhythms that accompany O's ridiculous attempts to understand human behavior. The playful score here makes sure the humor lands just right, goofy enough to make you laugh but still somehow charming. The soundtrack's role is not just to match the tone, but to give it a little extra flavor, ensuring every emotion, from laughter to sadness to triumph, feels rich and full. And let's not forget the way the music creates atmosphere in the world of the Boov. Their cold, mechanical, and overly controlled society is perfectly mirrored by the sterile, almost robotic musical choices. The futuristic synthetic sounds match their technology-driven world, while the music that follows Tip is warmer, more human, and more organic. This contrast between Tip's world and the Boov's is subtly reinforced by the music, giving us an audible cue that something's about to change. In sum, the soundtrack and score of Home are integral to its storytelling and emotional depth. From the empowering pop beats of Rihanna to the tender, emotional strings of the score, the music never feels like an afterthought. It shapes the movie's emotional landscape, connects us to the characters' journeys, and makes every scene feel like it matters. Whether it's an epic anthem, a quiet moment of reflection, or an upbeat song that makes you want to dance, the music is the perfect companion to this adventure, adding layers of meaning and atmosphere to an already engaging story. Themes and messages ***. If you're thinking Home is just a fun, colorful animation about an alien and a girl, think again. Sure, the movie delivers plenty of laughs, cute moments and wild adventures, but underneath all the surface-level fun, it's actually tackling some pretty deep themes. And it does so in a way that feels natural, not preachy, which is what makes it so effective. This movie explores ideas about identity, belonging, and the importance of connection. And it's these themes that give the story its emotional punch. So let's dig into the heart of it and see what Home really has to say. First off, let's talk about belonging. One of the central themes of the movie is the search for a place to call home. It's not just Tip's journey to find her mom, it's also O's quest to find a place where he truly fits in. At the beginning, both characters are isolated. Tip, stranded on Earth without her family, and O, an alien outcast from his own species. Both are different in their own ways. Tip's humanity makes her a misfit in the Boov world, while O's failure to follow the Boov's rigid rules makes him an outsider in his own community. Throughout the film, they both struggle with the question of where they belong. As their relationship grows, they start to realize that sometimes, home isn't just about a place, it's about the people you share it with. The film subtly suggests that home is less about geography and more about the bonds we create. And then there's the theme of self-acceptance. Oh, poor O. He's awkward, clumsy, and doesn't quite get what makes humans tick, but he's also incredibly kind and well-meaning. His character arc revolves around learning to accept himself as he is, flaws and all. For much of the movie, he's trying to win over the other Boov, always looking for approval, always trying to follow the rules. But over time, he realizes that his true value comes from being himself, not from trying to fit in with others' expectations. It's a powerful message, especially for kids, that you don't have to be perfect or follow the crowd to be worthy of love and friendship. It's a theme that sneaks up on you, not in a heavy-handed way, but through the gentle development of O's character. Tip's journey is just as much about self-identity. When we meet her, she's dealing with the loss of her mother, and she's clearly in pain. But as she embarks on her adventure with O, she starts to rebuild herself, not just as someone looking for her mom, but as someone capable of facing her fears, making tough decisions, and finding strength in herself. Her evolution from a girl stuck in grief to someone who is active in her life, and her choices mirrors the growth that many people go through as they navigate personal struggles. The movie doesn't just show Tip as a passive character waiting for rescue, it shows her as someone who takes charge of her own destiny. That's a message that resonates long after the movie's over, especially for anyone who's ever felt like they didn't have control over their own story. Then there's the theme of diversity and understanding. The film presents the Boov as a highly organized, regimented society that's all about efficiency and rules, but it's clear that this obsession with conformity doesn't make them any happier. O, who doesn't quite fit in, challenges the Boov's ways. His curiosity, his mistakes, and his willingness to break away from the norm are what make him the film's most relatable character. Through O's eyes, we learn that being different isn't a flaw, it's something to embrace. His friendship with Tip, who is equally out of place in the Boov world, is a testament to the power of finding common ground with those who seem different from you. It's an uplifting message about inclusivity and embracing what makes others unique, rather than fearing it. The movie also touches on the idea of forgiveness and redemption. Both O and Tip have to forgive themselves at different points in the story. O must forgive himself for not being the perfect Boov, and Tip must forgive herself for not being able to save her mother right away. Their journeys are not just about discovering the world around them, but about discovering that it's okay to make mistakes, that we're all imperfect, and that healing often involves accepting those imperfections. This theme runs parallel to the movie's exploration of family. Not in the traditional sense of blood relations, but in the sense of how we choose to create meaningful connections with others, and how those connections can heal us. And let's not forget the movie's light-hearted exploration of cooperation and teamwork. It's clear from the start that Tip and O are an unlikely pair, but as they work together, they realize that they each bring something vital to the table. Tip's resourcefulness and determination complement O's oddball ideas and big heart. Together, they face challenges that neither could have conquered alone. Their partnership is a perfect metaphor for how different people, or even different cultures, can come together, use their unique strengths, and solve problems as a team. It's a simple but powerful idea that rings true on both a personal and global scale. So, while Home is dressed up as a bright, fun animated adventure, it's actually layering in some thought-provoking messages. Whether it's about finding where you belong, learning to accept yourself, or building bridges between differences, the film tackles themes that resonate far beyond the surface. The best part? It does it in a way that feels earned and organic, not like it's shoving a message down your throat. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important journeys are the ones we take inward, toward understanding, self-acceptance, and meaningful connection with others. These ideas aren't just there for decoration. They shape the movie's emotional core and stick with you long after the credits roll. Visual effects and CGI ***. Okay, let's get into the juicy stuff. ****'s visual effects and CGI. This is where the magic truly comes alive. From the moment the Boov land on Earth, it's clear that we're not in your typical animated world. The visuals are bold, colorful, and full of life, with every frame popping like a painting come to life. The visual effects aren't just there to wow us. They're a core part of the story, helping to bring the entire alien world of the Boov and the human experience of Tip to life in ways that would be impossible with traditional animation alone. Take the Boov spaceships, for example. They're not just sleek, shiny metal pods zooming around. They have this fun, bubble-like aesthetic that fits perfectly with their quirky personalities. They're round, soft-edged, and playful, which makes sense given that the Boov are supposed to be this goofy, non-threatening race. The way the CGI animates these ships and the Boov's interaction with them feels incredibly natural, almost as if these bizarre, oversized vehicles could exist in our world, blending seamlessly with the environment. The visual effects don't just make the spaceships look cool. They help to shape the tone of the film, adding a sense of whimsy and lightness to the alien invasion concept. The Boov themselves. They're basically living rubber, bouncy, squishy creatures that practically leap off the screen. The design of these aliens is entirely digital, but their movements feel so fluid and organic that it's almost like watching a physical performance. The textures on their bodies, especially O's, look so real, like you could almost reach out and feel their rubbery surface. The color palette of the Boov, a mix of pastel purples, pinks, and blues, makes them feel cartoonish but somehow grounded in a way that's both playful and endearing. The CGI here works so perfectly that it never distracts you from the story. Instead, it enhances the world, making it feel alive and full of possibility. And speaking of immersion, Home absolutely nails it in creating environments that feel both familiar and otherworldly. Earth, seen through the eyes of Tip, is vibrant and full of rich detail. But it's when we enter the Boov's world that the visual effects truly take off. The Boov's technology is wildly different from anything we know. Blobs of goo and neon-colored spaceships that fold in on themselves like they're alive. The digital effects here don't just serve as a backdrop. They build the narrative. The alien world is full of glossy, ever-shifting textures that reflect the Boov's chaotic, rule-driven society. The CGI is so detailed that even the smallest elements, like the streets of Boov cities or their cluttered interiors, feel alive. It's a world that's bizarre, yes, but it's also oddly inviting, like an alien Disneyland, one that's just a little bit off but still completely captivating. The digital effects are also put to good use in the action sequences. The chase scenes, where Tip and O are on the run, are full of fast-moving, thrilling moments. The action is sleek, with quick camera cuts and smooth, fluid movements that feel more like a roller coaster than a static experience. The CGI here is masterful. It never feels forced or out of place. Instead, it works hand in hand with the animation to create the tension and excitement of those moments. The Boov ships zip through the sky in ways that feel both weightless and powerful, while the way they interact with their environment, like zipping through the streets or dodging obstacles, feels as natural as any live-action chase scene. What's really cool about the effects is how the practical elements and CGI merge seamlessly. Tip's world, grounded in familiar locations, is rendered with such sharp detail that you can feel the texture of the pavement, the rustling of the trees, or the sloshing of the waves as she navigates through it. Yet, when we switch to the alien world, the digital effects don't clash with the human world. Instead, they complement each other. The practical elements, like the lush, colorful settings and real-world objects, ground the story, while the CGI provides that touch of otherworldly magic that makes everything feel like part of the same universe. The balance is striking, creating an immersive experience where neither the practical nor digital elements feel like they're overshadowing each other. What's particularly impressive is the way the digital effects aren't just used for spectacle but also for emotional impact. In quieter moments, like when Tip is looking at a photo of her mother, the effects pull back, focusing on the characters and allowing us to really feel the weight of those moments. The animation is soft, with subtle, detailed textures that give the scene a sense of intimacy. It's a contrast to the more bombastic moments, but it shows how well the CGI works to convey emotion without getting in the way. The world building in Home is another testament to the success of the visual effects. The movie doesn't just throw out random digital landscapes. Everything, from the alien skies to the Boov's interactions with technology, is meticulously crafted to fit the story's tone. The way the Boov interact with their technology, using their goo to stick to walls or jump from place to place, feels unique and clever. It's as if the world was designed with the characters' personalities in mind, and the digital effects are integral to making that world feel like it could exist somewhere beyond the screen. The movie also does a fantastic job of playing with scale. The Boov, who are tiny in comparison to humans, are animated in a way that makes their size feel believable in their environment. Whether they're waddling around a human-sized room or maneuvering through a space that feels massive to them, the CGI works wonders in making their world feel like it exists on a different scale. It's an awesome effect that adds a sense of wonder and whimsy to the film. In short, the visual effects and CGI in Home are a shining example of how technology can be used to not only enhance the visual storytelling but also deepen the emotional experience. They never overshadow the narrative. Instead, they work hand in hand with the characters and themes, pulling us into a world that's as bizarre as it is heartwarming. Whether it's the design of the Boov, the sleek, futuristic tech, or the rich, vibrant landscapes, the digital effects blend so naturally into the film's world that you can't help but be drawn into it. It's an extraordinary balance between creativity, technology, and storytelling. 11. Set design and locations ****. Alright, let's talk about the world of Home and how it's crafted. Sure, the characters are colorful, the aliens are hilarious, and the plot is a roller coaster, but none of this would have the same impact without the sets and locations that form the backdrop of this adventure. And in Home, the settings are far from being just pretty pictures. They're integral to the story, full of detail and character, and they help bring the narrative to life in ways that you might not even realize. Let's start with Earth. Now, Tip's world, our world, is the one that we feel most connected to. It's easy to get lost in the beauty of the landscapes, the bustling city streets, and the familiar suburban homes, but there's an interesting twist to it all. When we first see Earth from Tip's perspective, it's a bit like looking through a foggy window. She's been alone for so long that she's seeing everything through a lens of isolation. The locations she interacts with, her home, her mother's belongings, the places she visits on her quest, are all familiar, but they feel a little distant, like fragments of a life that's been put on pause. It's in these moments that the set design truly shines. The clutter of her house, the way she holds on to little reminders of her mom, all of these details are small but meaningful. They help set the tone for Tip's journey, not just physical but emotional. These environments make us understand what she's been through, what she's missing, and what she's hoping to regain. When Tip meets O, the settings shift dramatically to the alien world of the Boov. This is where the production design really goes wild. The Boov's world is a futuristic, chaotic place, a weird, wacky playground that seems straight out of a sci-fi dream or nightmare. The cities are made up of towering, colorful structures that look like they've been hastily put together. Everything is oversized, and it's clear that the Boov prioritize convenience over aesthetics. Streets are lined with alien technology that can stretch and fold, forming and reforming based on the Boov's needs. These places are strange and, at times, downright bizarre, but they're all the more fascinating for it. The set design here plays up the playful, irreverent nature of the Boov. Their cities are a chaotic mess of bright colors, weird shapes, and odd angles, which contrasts sharply with the orderly, almost sterile human world. This sense of imbalance in the design visually communicates the Boov's disorganized society. Their environments feel lived in, but not in the way we would expect. Everything is a little haphazard, a little off-kilter, and yet it all somehow fits together in its own strange way. But what's so genius about the set design is how these locations evolve as the characters grow. The Boov city, with its endless shiny buildings and erratic layout, mirrors the character's journey. At first, it feels alienating, like it's this cold, corporate world that doesn't care about its inhabitants. But as Tip and O work together, the world around them changes. As they form a friendship, the locations start to feel less threatening and more like a place of possibility. The chaotic, impersonal design of the Boov's world becomes a little more fun, a little more inviting. This shift in design reflects the character's transformation. The environments are not static. They react and shift to the emotional and narrative beats of the film. The props and technological gadgets in the Boov world are also worth noting. Think of O's funny little communicator or the gadgets he uses to interact with his environment. These aren't just there for comedic effect, they're extensions of the Boov themselves. The technology is constantly shifting, morphing, and adapting to fit their needs. It adds an extra layer of depth to the world, making it feel like everything is in constant motion, never staying the same. The set design here isn't just about creating cool alien worlds. It's about making the environment feel like it's alive and interactive, just like the characters within it. And then there's the spaceship. O's little round pod is probably one of the most iconic pieces of design in the film. It's this mix of advanced technology and childlike simplicity. The colors are bright, the shape is playful, and it contrasts so nicely with the boisterous, irregular design of the Boov city. It's like O's personality is built right into the ship, clumsy, unrefined, and endearing all at once. The spaceship is also an extension of the film's visual storytelling, emphasizing that, despite being from a faraway galaxy, O is still a bit of a misfit who doesn't quite conform to his species' norms. The props here help convey so much without saying a word. They tell us about O's character before we even meet him. But it's not just about the alien world. The film also makes excellent use of simple settings on Earth. Tip's neighborhood, her home, and the streets she walks are grounded in realism but have a layer of artistry to them. The set design captures the mundane nature of these places, but with a soft glow that makes everything feel a bit dreamlike. The way her home is designed, cluttered with memories, adorned with little touches that speak to her past, becomes a reflection of her emotional state. These locations aren't just backdrops. They're integral to the character's journey. They're reflective of Tip's growth, loss, and hope, making them feel lived in and personal. The final act of the film, when Tip and O embark on their most significant journey, takes place in a series of beautiful locations that combine the familiar with the fantastic. The locations in this part of the movie are less chaotic than the Boov cities but still carry that sense of wonder and exploration. The final confrontation takes place in a vast, wide-open space, both literally and metaphorically representing the growth and change that the characters have gone through. In short, the set design and locations in Home aren't just places where things happen, they're characters in their own right. They shift with the story, grow with the characters, and give us a deeper understanding of what's going on emotionally. Whether it's the oddball chaos of the Boov world or the grounded, relatable streets of Tip's neighborhood, the environments help shape the narrative, making it feel cohesive and immersive. The visual design doesn't just enhance the experience. It deepens it, giving us a world that feels as alive as the characters who inhabit it. And that's the kind of world you want to live in. One that feels real, one that changes and grows just like the people it surrounds. 12. Dialogue and script ****. The dialogue in Home is one of its secret weapons. It's sharp, playful, and surprisingly deep, all wrapped up in a package of humor and heart. From the very beginning, the film establishes its tone through witty, natural exchanges between characters. This isn't just a film where the characters spout lines that exist solely to move the plot along. Every line is crafted to add something more, whether it's humor, insight, or emotional depth. Take O, for instance. He's a walking one-liner generator. His awkwardness and social ineptitude provide endless opportunities for humor. But the writing doesn't just stop at surface-level jokes. O's dialogue often reveals his loneliness and desire for connection. His misinterpretations of human behavior, whether it's misunderstanding slang or awkwardly trying to fit in, bring a certain charm to his character. For example, when he first meets Tip, he starts spouting phrases that seem completely out of place, like using phrases incorrectly, and it's not just funny, it's indicative of his entire existence as an outsider. "I'm so sorry that you got hurt in your face," is a perfect example of how the dialogue not only makes us laugh but also shows how O is trying to connect, even though he doesn't quite understand the nuances of language. Tip, on the other hand, has a different kind of dialogue, one that's less about humor and more about resilience and longing. Her lines are often sharp and laced with the pain of her isolation. But there's also a cleverness to her, especially in her interactions with O. She doesn't sugarcoat things, and her sarcasm is both protective and a little self-deprecating. The dynamic between Tip and O is so well written because it feels real. They're opposites, yet their dialogue reflects how they begin to learn from each other. For example, when Tip finally tells O that he's not a bad guy, and that he can still be someone worth liking, it's a breakthrough, and the way the dialogue handles that shift is so emotionally satisfying. There's no big speech or dramatic moment, just two characters being vulnerable in a way that feels true. But it's not just about the jokes or the emotional moments. The script also knows how to balance these elements with subtle, impactful lines. The quieter moments of the film are where the writing really gets to shine. When Tip talks about her mom, it's a gut punch. The lines are simple, yet they carry so much weight. "She's not coming back" is one of those understated pieces of dialogue that conveys all the loss and sadness without needing to over-explain it. The simplicity of these lines, spoken with such emotional weight, shows how strong the script is at conveying complex feelings through simple words. The humor doesn't shy away from being a bit quirky or random either, and that's what makes it memorable. There's a running gag about the Boov's misunderstanding of human customs, and while it's funny on the surface, it also serves as a clever commentary on cultural differences. O's baffled attempts to understand Earth's customs, like trying to use a spoon as a form of communication, add a layer of humor that's not just for kids. It's something adults can chuckle at too. It's an intelligent script, one that knows when to be silly and when to dig into deeper themes. Then there's the relationship between O and Tip. The way the dialogue changes over time is a key part of their emotional journey. In the beginning, they don't understand each other at all. Tip's tough exterior and O's bumbling awkwardness make for a lot of misunderstandings, but as they grow together, the dialogue softens. There's a warmth that starts to emerge, especially as O shows genuine care for Tip. It's in these moments that the script truly excels. Subtle shifts in tone, where the words speak volumes about their evolving bond. When O says something as simple as "I'm trying to be helpful," it doesn't just speak to his character, it signals the start of their deeper connection. What's also impressive is how the script handles the themes of the film. It doesn't hit you over the head with them. It lets the dialogue subtly build towards the bigger messages. Whether it's about finding home, understanding the meaning of family, or the value of forgiveness, the film's dialogue weaves these themes in organically. The characters' conversations about loneliness, belonging, and personal growth never feel preachy. Instead, the dialogue feels like a natural part of the character's evolution. And let's not forget the humorous exchanges between the Boov. Their dialogue is sometimes nonsensical, full of quirky alien terminology and oddball expressions. They're constantly trying to sound authoritative but often end up tripping over their own words or getting caught in their own misunderstandings. These exchanges aren't just comic relief. They also add to the film's overall tone of fun and lightheartedness. The Boov may be an alien race that's less than perfect, but their dialogue makes them lovable in their own chaotic way. In the end, the dialogue in Home isn't just about laughs, though it definitely serves those up in spades. It's about connecting with the audience on an emotional level, whether that's through a silly misunderstanding, a heartfelt revelation, or a moment of vulnerability. The script strikes a perfect balance between humor and heart, delivering lines that stick with you long after the credits roll. There's nothing forced about the writing. It flows naturally, making the characters feel real, the moments feel earned, and the story feel both entertaining and meaningful. It's the kind of script that doesn't just tell a story. It makes you feel it. 13. Genre execution ***. Let's dive into the genre of Home. It's an animated sci-fi comedy with a twist. It doesn't quite fit neatly into the mold of any one genre. It's a perfect blend of family-friendly humor, heartwarming drama, and a dash of sci-fi adventure. The film plays around with the conventions of these genres in ways that make it stand out without entirely reinventing the wheel. It knows what it's doing, and it knows how to balance action, suspense, humor, and drama in a way that feels fresh and engaging. On the sci-fi front, Home does what most great animated sci-fi movies do. It creates a fantastical world that's not just visually imaginative but also relatable in a way that's accessible for kids and adults alike. The Boov are the typical quirky alien race, and the spaceship and other tech devices are your standard futuristic gadgets. But where Home doesn't go down the beaten path is in how it takes this world and gives it a personal twist. Yes, it's a story about an alien invasion, kind of. But instead of focusing on massive world-ending threats or intergalactic warfare, it zooms in on the personal journey of an unlikely friendship. Instead of the typical action-heavy sci-fi plot, the film is more about character development and emotional growth. The Boov are not here to conquer. They're just a bumbling, misunderstood race trying to find a new home. This takes the genre and makes it less about explosions and more about connection. As for the comedy, Home is not just a laugh fest. It's a comedy with heart. The humor isn't just slapstick or dependent on silly alien antics, though let's be honest, those are plenty fun. It's about the character dynamics and how they evolve. The misunderstandings between Tip and O give the film its comedic core. O's literal interpretations of human behavior and his awkward attempts at friendship are hilarious, but they also make us feel for him. He's not just a walking joke. He's a lovable character trying to figure out how to be a part of something bigger than himself. Tip, with her sass and guarded attitude, provides the perfect foil to O's well-meaning but clumsy nature. Their banter is funny, but it's also a gateway into understanding their deeper fears and desires. The humor doesn't undercut the emotional beats of the film. Instead, it complements them. When you laugh at O's confusion over a spoon, you're also laughing at how out of place he feels in this new world, and that's the beauty of the comedy here. It's grounded in emotional truth. Now let's talk about the action, which doesn't get as much attention as the humor, but it still has a place in the movie. There are moments of action, yes, chases, dramatic rescues, and tense moments as Tip and O try to outrun both the Boov and their own fears. However, the action is never the focal point of the film. It's not about high-speed chases or epic showdowns. It's about the small victories, like when Tip and O finally learn to trust each other. The action is lighthearted but still impactful enough to keep the stakes high, especially when it comes to O's ultimate mission of making things right. It's a smart way to incorporate action without overshadowing the film's true focus, which is the bond between Tip and O. Suspense isn't something the film relies on in the traditional sense. There's no grand mystery or constant danger looming over the characters. Instead, the suspense is more emotional. The film keeps us on the edge of our seat not by wondering whether or not Tip and O will escape the Boov, but by asking whether they'll ever truly find a place where they both belong. Will Tip reconnect with her mother? Will O finally find a home of his own? The emotional suspense is subtle but effective, pulling us through the quieter moments and making the eventual payoffs feel earned. Then there's the drama. While Home is undeniably lighthearted, it doesn't shy away from the more serious, poignant themes. The film deals with loss, loneliness, and the search for identity. These are not themes you expect to see in a family-friendly animated film, but Home manages to tackle them with a light touch. Tip's grief over her mother's disappearance and O's sense of alienation are central to the story, and the film handles these emotions in a way that feels real and relatable. But it never gets bogged down in heaviness. Instead, it uses humor and quirky character dynamics to balance the more dramatic moments. The humor serves as a relief valve, allowing the emotional beats to land without feeling overwhelming. What's really refreshing is how Home manages to subvert genre expectations without completely breaking them. In most alien invasion or sci-fi films, the aliens are the threat, the conflict is about saving Earth, and the drama revolves around humanity's survival. In Home, Earth is never in real danger. The Boov aren't evil invaders. They're just a displaced group looking for a new home. This turns the whole premise of the alien invasion genre on its head, offering a more optimistic take on the idea of otherworldly beings. The conflict isn't about stopping the aliens. It's about understanding each other, finding common ground, and overcoming personal insecurities. It's a welcome change from the usual alien invasion tropes, and it feels new and exciting as a result. At its core, Home is a genre blender, mixing sci-fi, comedy, action, and drama into a smooth, enjoyable experience. It subverts the expectations of a typical animated sci-fi adventure by focusing on character growth and emotional depth, rather than just action or spectacle. It gives us enough familiar elements to feel comfortable, but also presents them in a fresh way. There are laughs, there's heart, there's tension, and there's even a touch of adventure, all carefully balanced to keep you engaged from start to finish. 14. Social and cultural commentary ***. Home is more than just an entertaining animated adventure. It's also a subtle commentary on contemporary issues, culture, and social dynamics, woven into the fabric of the story in ways that feel natural rather than forced. At its core, the film tackles themes of belonging, immigration, and the idea of home, issues that are as timely as they are universal. Through the interactions between Tip and O, the film touches on the complexities of identity, displacement, and the quest for acceptance in a world that sometimes feels like it's not quite ready for you. Take for instance the Boov. These aliens aren't portrayed as the typical invaders out to conquer Earth. Instead, they are a displaced race, fleeing from their own disastrous past and trying to find a new home. The way the Boov interact with Earth and its inhabitants is a direct nod to the experiences of immigrants, refugees, and displaced people. They arrive with little understanding of the planet and its customs, trying to fit in but often making awkward, misguided attempts to take over. This is a powerful metaphor for how immigrant communities are often seen as outsiders, and how they sometimes have to navigate a world that doesn't understand them. The Boov's attempts at fitting in, like O's confusion over earthly customs, serve as a comedic yet poignant reflection of how difficult it can be to integrate into a new culture, especially when you're constantly seen as different or strange. Tip, on the other hand, is a character who embodies the feelings of loss and isolation that come with displacement. Her mother has disappeared, leaving her to navigate a world without her primary source of comfort. Tip's journey in Home is not just about helping O and saving the world. It's about finding her own sense of belonging again, a theme that resonates deeply with anyone who has ever felt out of place. As a young woman of color, Tip's story also touches on issues of identity and the need for validation in a world that often doesn't acknowledge or appreciate her. In her interactions with O, there's a palpable tension between the two characters, not just because they come from different worlds, but because they both grapple with the feelings of being othered in some way. Tip's journey is about reclaiming a sense of home, not just physically, but emotionally and socially as well. The film doesn't shy away from highlighting how systems of power can often marginalize or misunderstand certain groups. When the Boov take over Earth, they don't do so with malicious intent. They're simply trying to secure a future for their people, much like any group that faces a crisis. The way the Boov take control of Earth's cities and its resources can be seen as a critique of colonialism, with the alien race moving in, changing everything to suit their needs, and disregarding the planet's natural inhabitants. But as the film progresses, Home reveals that these actions are not about exploitation. Rather, they come from a place of fear, survival, and the desperation that comes with trying to rebuild after loss. This adds a layer of complexity to the film's portrayal of the Boov. They're not just comical villains. They're a reflection of the complexities of power dynamics, survival, and the often misunderstood nature of marginalized groups. There's also a subtext in the film that deals with the idea of home as a fluid concept, one that isn't tied to a specific place, but rather to the people and relationships we form. The Boov, after all, are constantly searching for a new home, constantly fleeing from one place to the next without ever truly feeling settled. Tip's journey mirrors this idea. At first, she wants to return to the home she once knew, to the life she had before her mother disappeared. But as the film progresses, Tip begins to understand that home isn't just about the place. It's about the people she chooses to be with, the community she builds. O, who starts out as an alien she doesn't understand, becomes her emotional anchor. The friendship between Tip and O ultimately transforms both characters, showing that home can be wherever you feel understood and loved. This speaks to a broader cultural commentary on how we view home and belonging, especially in today's globalized world where borders are often fluid, and many people find themselves living between cultures, trying to reconcile where they're from with where they are. The film also cleverly addresses the complexities of technology and reliance on systems that sometimes create more problems than they solve. The Boov, in their quest to make things easier, often use technology in ways that are inefficient or invasive. This could be seen as a critique of our modern obsession with technology and how sometimes it doesn't always lead to better solutions. It just leads to more mess. This theme comes to light when O and Tip, through their clumsy attempts at problem-solving, show that human connection and empathy are often far more effective than technology in addressing the emotional challenges we face. What home does so well is to tackle these complex issues in a way that doesn't feel preachy or heavy-handed. It's a fun, light-hearted movie on the surface, but underneath, it's rich with cultural commentary. The film uses humor and science fiction tropes to explore deep issues around immigration, identity, belonging, and personal growth. It never forces these messages on the audience, but instead lets them emerge naturally from the characters' journeys. And in doing so, it opens up important conversations about how we view others, how we treat those who are different, and what it really means to belong. It's a smart, socially conscious film wrapped in the trappings of a colorful, entertaining adventure. A perfect blend of entertainment and meaningful commentary. 15. Audience engagement ***. Home has that magical quality where it's not just a movie you watch. It's one that connects with you on an emotional level, making you laugh, think, and maybe even tear up a little. It's not just about the visuals or the plot. It's about how the story gets under your skin and sticks with you long after the credits roll. The film knows exactly how to pull at your heartstrings, deliver laughs, and offer moments of introspection, all while keeping you entertained. Let's start with the emotional moments. Home is great at building a bond between the characters, especially between Tip and O. The way their relationship develops from awkwardness and misunderstanding to genuine friendship hits you right in the feels. There are moments where you just want to cheer for them, when Tip teaches O what it means to care for someone, or when O shows his vulnerability and fear of not being accepted. These moments are both heartwarming and moving. The emotional payoff when Tip finally reconnects with her mother is one of those moments that you don't see coming but leaves you teary-eyed. It's the kind of scene that resonates because it taps into universal emotions, the longing for connection, the fear of being alone, and the hope that no matter where we come from, we can find our place in the world. But let's not forget the humor. Home is loaded with laugh-out-loud moments, particularly thanks to O's quirky personality. His literal take on everything around him makes for some classic comedic moments. Whether it's his hilarious misunderstanding of human customs or his deadpan responses to situations, the film has this delightful way of mixing physical comedy with sharp wit. One minute you're cracking up at O's alien antics, and the next, you're sympathizing with his loneliness and desire to belong. It's a balancing act that the film pulls off with ease, ensuring that the laughs never feel forced, but rather natural and endearing. These moments make it easy for the audience to connect with the characters because, in the end, we've all felt like outsiders at some point trying to find our place. As for excitement and thrills, there's just enough of that to keep the story moving. The action sequences aren't over the top, but they serve to propel the narrative forward, keeping you engaged in the stakes of Tip and O's journey. The climactic moments, where the two characters face off against the Boov and try to save the day, offer just enough tension to keep you on the edge of your seat. You're rooting for them, but it's not just about the action. It's about what they've learned along the way and how far they've come emotionally. That's what makes the action feel impactful. It's not just about explosions or fast chases, but about the culmination of their growth. What's also fascinating about Home is how it invites deeper reflection. While it's easy to dismiss the film as just another kids' movie, it offers subtle commentary on identity, belonging, and family that speaks to viewers of all ages. These themes are handled in a way that makes them accessible but also thought-provoking. The film touches on feelings of displacement, self-worth, and the importance of finding connection in a world that sometimes feels cold. As Tip and O learn from one another, so too do the audience members have a chance to reflect on their own relationships and the ways in which they connect with others. The humor and the heart of the story also give the film a re-watchable quality. It's the type of movie where you pick up new things every time you watch it. On the surface, it's a fun, colorful adventure, but with each repeat viewing, you notice the deeper moments of growth in the characters. You start to pick up on the more subtle jokes and nuances that you missed the first time around. It's the kind of film that doesn't just entertain in the moment, but encourages ongoing engagement as you think back on the lessons it presents. Home is one of those rare films that hits all the right emotional notes, without ever feeling manipulative or heavy-handed. It elicits laughter and tears in the right moments, keeps you invested in the characters' journeys, and leaves you with something to think about long after you've watched it. Whether you're watching it for the first time or the 10th time, it's a film that invites you to come back, reflect, and enjoy the ride again and again. It's got that perfect blend of heart, humor, and thought-provoking depth that makes it not just a movie, but a conversation starter. A film that you'll want to talk about with friends and family after the credits roll, and one that resonates in unexpected ways every time. 15. Comparisons to similar films ***. When you stack Home against other animated films, especially those that tackle themes of alien encounters, family, and finding one's place in the world, you start to notice some interesting distinctions. If you've seen films like Monsters, Inc. or Lilo and Stitch, you might think Home is treading familiar territory. Aliens, unlikely friendships, and the exploration of what it means to belong. But here's where Home carves its own path. Unlike Monsters, Inc., where the alien world is designed around humor and fear, those lovable monsters, after all, are in the scaring business, Home takes a gentler approach to its alien characters. The Boov aren't sinister creatures or scary monsters. They're comically inept, constantly fumbling their way through human culture, which gives the film a light-hearted tone. There's no real villain to contend with, which differentiates it from many other films in this genre. The real conflict in Home isn't between humans and aliens, but within the characters themselves. Tip's search for her mom and O's quest to belong. It's an emotional journey, not one defined by epic battles or high-stakes conflicts, but by personal growth and understanding. In terms of comparison to Lilo and Stitch, Home shares the same theme of ohana, family, and the idea of finding home in the most unexpected places. Lilo and Stitch has a much more traditional narrative where Stitch is the wild, chaotic force that disrupts Lilo's world, and they come together to form their makeshift family. Home, on the other hand, presents an equally chaotic and funny scenario with O and Tip, but their bond is more about learning from each other and healing from personal wounds. Tip isn't the outcast child trying to understand an alien. She's a girl who's lost her mother and is grappling with the idea of where she belongs. O, in his own way, is going through something very similar. So while both films deal with finding family and home, Home offers a deeper look at the process of healing and connection, particularly between two characters who are both on journeys of self-discovery. When you look at the director's filmography, Home stands apart from his previous works. It's not as emotionally dark as Shrek or Kung Fu Panda, films that also explore identity and the importance of embracing one's true self. Those films have their share of slapstick humor, but Home dials down the chaos and turns up the emotional beats. It's less about grand action sequences or fast-paced jokes, and more about the quieter, more tender moments of the character's growth. While Shrek subverts the traditional fairytale formula and Kung Fu Panda delivers its own lessons about inner strength, Home is much more introspective, focusing on the internal journeys of its characters. Now, does Home offer something new to the genre? Absolutely. Sure, it shares thematic elements with other animated films, but it introduces a refreshing take on the alien genre by focusing not on an intergalactic battle or world-ending stakes, but on the personal, relatable struggles of belonging and friendship. The Boov are not the traditional alien invaders. They're bumbling, flawed, and vulnerable, which is a breath of fresh air. The alien race isn't presented as a threat but as a community in need of help, which flips the usual narrative of extraterrestrial encounters. It's less about defeating an enemy and more about understanding each other's differences and finding common ground. Also, the film's approach to family isn't as typical as other animated films. Tip's relationship with her mom is central to the plot, But the emotional stakes are rooted in personal loss and the process of moving forward, not just in reuniting or rescuing someone. In fact, Tip doesn't get the happy reunion she might expect. Her emotional arc is more about accepting change and growing in the face of uncertainty. That's a departure from other films where the resolution often involves some form of victory over an antagonist or a grand action-packed finale. Where Home stands out in terms of animation style and visual appeal is also worth noting. While it doesn't reinvent the wheel, it brings a unique, vibrant color palette and imaginative designs to the table. The Boov's quirky, rubbery forms are an artistic choice that feels both comical and endearing, and the world building, particularly the depiction of the Boov spaceship and their odd approach to Earth, adds an offbeat charm to the film. Unlike some animated films that lean heavily on photorealism or sophisticated CGI, Home sticks to a playful, stylized aesthetic that complements its light-hearted but emotional tone. It's not trying to dazzle you with hyper-realistic visuals. Instead, it invites you into a world that feels warm, colorful, and full of possibility. In the grand scheme of animated films, Home might not necessarily shake the foundations of the genre, but it definitely puts a unique spin on the familiar themes of friendship, belonging, and family. It stands apart from its counterparts by offering a fresh, emotional take on the alien genre, one that explores what it truly means to be home, in a way that's both universal and deeply personal. While it doesn't follow the typical formula of other alien or animated films, it does manage to blend humor, heart, and a touch of social commentary in a way that makes it a standout in its own right. 17. Symbolism and metaphors ***. The film Home isn't just a delightful animation about an alien and a human learning to get along. It's rich with subtle symbolism and clever metaphors that add layers to the story, making it more than just a fun adventure. These hidden elements offer a deeper look at the themes of belonging, identity, and the search for family. The story isn't just about Tip and O's friendship. It's about finding a place where they both belong in a world that constantly makes them feel out of place. And that journey is filled with visual cues and metaphors that enhance the emotional depth. One of the most obvious and powerful symbols in Home is the Boov themselves. These aliens, who are constantly running from their past mistakes and trying to create a new home for themselves on Earth, symbolize the concept of displacement. The Boov don't stay in one place for long. They're always on the move, searching for a better place to live. This mirrors Tip's journey in the film. She's also displaced, not just because she's been separated from her mother, but because she feels like an outsider, struggling to find where she belongs in the world. The Boov's constant relocation reflects Tip's internal feeling of being lost. They are, in a sense, the physical representation of the emotional chaos that Tip is experiencing. There's a fascinating metaphor at play with the Boov's obsessive need to hide and make everything neat and orderly. They literally hide their emotions and their true selves, covering up their mistakes with lies and pretending that everything is fine. This could be seen as a commentary on how people often hide their vulnerabilities or emotions, choosing instead to put up a facade of perfection. O, in contrast, is the only Boov who is comfortable being his true self, flaws and all. His awkwardness, honesty, and willingness to be open about who he is make him the film's emotional center, highlighting the importance of self-acceptance and being true to who you are, even when it's not easy. There's also the recurring metaphor of home throughout the film. At first, home is just a physical place, a place where Tip wants to be with her mom, and where the Boov hope to create a new home for themselves on Earth. But as the story progresses, home becomes something much more complex. Tip's journey is not just about physically reuniting with her mother, but about finding emotional stability and a sense of belonging within herself. It's the internal idea of home that she's really searching for, a place where she feels whole and accepted. And in this sense, Home is playing with a metaphor of home as a place where you can be at peace with who you are and with the people around you. The film doesn't just ask, where is home? But rather, what makes a place truly feel like home? O's character is the perfect embodiment of this idea. He's an alien who doesn't fit in with his own kind, and he's cast aside by the Boov because of his awkwardness and perceived uselessness. Yet, over the course of the film, he learns that his flaws, his quirky, emotional, and sometimes irrational nature, are exactly what make him worthy of love and belonging. This journey is symbolic of how we often need to accept ourselves before we can find our true place in the world. O's growth mirrors Tip's own journey, and the emotional climax of the film, where they finally find each other, is a powerful metaphor for the idea that true home isn't a location, but a feeling of connection and understanding. The film also uses the concept of the move to symbolize personal transformation. The Boov are constantly moving, jumping from one place to the next in search of a better home, but every time they think they found a perfect place, they end up running away because they haven't dealt with the real issue, accepting themselves. The idea of constantly running from one place to another could be seen as a metaphor for how people often try to escape from their problems instead of facing them head-on. Tip and O, on the other hand, stop running. They face their problems directly. Tip faces the pain of losing her mother and the emotional scars that come with it, while O faces the loneliness of being an outsider in his own society. By stopping the constant movement and standing still in their feelings, they are able to truly grow. Another subtle but significant metaphor is the Boov's use of the color purple, which represents the wrong way of doing things. O is the only Boov who has purple skin, setting him apart from the rest of the Boov, who are all different shades of blue. His purple skin is a symbol of his difference, his uniqueness, and his refusal to conform to the Boov's societal norms. It's a visual cue that emphasizes O's journey of self-acceptance. He's the odd one out, the outcast, but in the end, he's the one who shows everyone the true meaning of belonging. The purple color of his skin serves as a reminder that being different isn't a flaw, it's a strength. The idea of moving also comes into play with the Boov spaceship, which is constantly changing and evolving. It's a metaphor for the Boov's inability to stay in one place or accept who they are. The spaceship is functional but messy, much like the Boov themselves. The design of their home base in the ship is practically chaotic, filled with various sections that represent their cluttered and disorganized way of life. It's only when the Boov begin to embrace their true selves and stop hiding behind their false facades that the ship becomes more organized and livable, just as Tip and O become more grounded and connected to each other. In Home, everything, right down to the color schemes, the movements, and the interactions, holds deeper meaning. The story isn't just about two characters from different worlds learning to coexist. It's about how identity, acceptance, and the search for home go hand in hand. The metaphors and symbols throughout the film are cleverly woven into the story, helping to enrich its themes and make it a more thought-provoking experience than your typical animated adventure. It's a reminder that home isn't just where you live, it's where you find yourself, and where you find others who accept you for who you are. When it comes to Home 2015, it's not part of a traditional multi-installment franchise like Toy Story or How to Train Your Dragon, but it does have a bit of an extended universe that many viewers might not even know about. Based on the 2007 book The True Meaning of Smekday by Adam Rex, Home draws from an already imaginative and quirky literary foundation, bringing that world to life in colorful, animated form. The movie took creative liberties with its source material, streamlining and softening some of the darker or more satirical elements from the book to make it more family-friendly, but it retained that core spirit of oddball charm and underdog heart. And though it never spawned a big-screen sequel, Home wasn't the end of the line for Tip and O. They got a continuation through the Netflix animated series Home, Adventures with Tip and O, which expanded on their world, deepened their friendship, and gave fans a lot more goofy, heartwarming antics in bite-sized episodes. In terms of how Home fits within DreamWorks Animation's legacy, it occupies a unique space. Released at a time when the studio was in the middle of experimenting with new styles and characters, Home was a clear departure from the typical fairy tale or animal-led stories they were known for. It leaned more into sci-fi territory with a strong female lead and an alien who could have easily been annoying but turned out to be unexpectedly lovable. While it didn't shatter box office records like some of its DreamWorks siblings, it found its own identity by focusing on heartfelt storytelling, unique character dynamics, and a surprising amount of emotional sincerity beneath all the bubblegum-colored visuals and slapstick humor. The cultural context of Home is also worth exploring. It was one of the first major animated films to feature a black female protagonist, and not just as a sidekick, but as the emotional core of the entire movie. Tip isn't a princess, she's not magical, and she doesn't rely on anyone to save her. She's smart, resourceful, fiercely independent, and driven by a deep love for her mom. This was a refreshing shift in children's animation, and it quietly broke barriers without making a big deal about it. It also added a layer of relatability for audiences who rarely saw themselves reflected in animated media, making Tip's presence meaningful beyond just the story. And while Home isn't historical in the traditional sense, it's filled with aliens, floating cities, and a soundtrack by Rihanna. It does serve as a kind of cultural timestamp. It reflects a mid-2010s optimism about technology, global unity, and quirky self-expression. The design of the Boov, with their pastel tones, jellyfish movements, and obsession with order, subtly echoes the rise of sanitized tech culture. Think apps, emojis, and algorithmic thinking. Meanwhile, Tip and her journey represent something far more human and grounded: the messy, emotional, and instinctive nature of real connection. In that sense, Home becomes a mirror for the moment it was released, when the world was getting increasingly connected through technology, but still craving genuine emotion and connection underneath all that digital gloss. In summary, Home may not be a blockbuster franchise installment or a historical epic, but it carries its own weight within DreamWorks' larger body of work and leaves a footprint that's worth recognizing. It stands out as a bold, colorful, and emotionally resonant story that reached for something fresh in both representation and tone. And while it plays in a world of alien invasions and floating cars, it never loses sight of the very human core that drives the story forward. Now let's talk numbers, because Home 2015 didn't just beam down from Boov World and hope for the best. It came with a price tag and big expectations. The film had a reported production budget of around $135 million, which puts it squarely in the big league animated film territory. That's a lot of money to animate squishy aliens, bubble-shaped spaceships, flying cars, and entire cities being relocated via intergalactic suction cups. But you know what? You can actually see where the money went. The visuals are bright, polished, and full of detail, with lush backdrops, expressive characters, and slick animation that makes even the tiniest Boov reaction feel alive. It's got that DreamWorks-level sheen. No corners were cut when it came to making this movie look like a candy-colored, interstellar adventure. When it came to the box office, Home didn't exactly conquer the galaxy like some of its animated cousins, but it still pulled in a respectable haul. Worldwide, it earned over $380 million, which is nearly triple its production budget. So while it might not have roared like Shrek or How to Train Your Dragon, it definitely didn't flop. It quietly turned a solid profit, proving that even a slightly offbeat, non-sequel, original story could still find an audience, especially when backed by some major star power and catchy tunes. And let's not forget that Rihanna wasn't just voicing Tip. She also curated the soundtrack, which helped the film cross over into pop culture in ways many animated movies don't. Now the marketing machine behind Home was working overtime. Trailers, TV spots, merchandising, tie-ins. DreamWorks made sure that Boov were everywhere. Plush toys, books, Happy Meal toys, you name it. And with Jim Parsons' unique voice giving his adorably awkward charm and Rihanna bringing both voice and vocals, there was a hook for kids and adults alike. Add in Steve Martin as the wildly clueless Captain Smek and Jennifer Lopez as Tip's mom, and the film had a cast built to pull eyeballs. Critically, the movie got a bit of a mixed bag. Some praised its heart, humor, and style, while others felt it played it safe or skewed too young. But here's the thing: audiences showed up. Families, especially those looking for something a little different, embraced Home with open arms or tentacles. Word of mouth, along with the power of a global release strategy, helped the film gain traction even in markets where DreamWorks wasn't always dominant. So, in the end, Home wasn't just a cute alien movie, it was a financial venture that paid off. It may not have broken records, but it definitely justified its budget and built a world rich enough to inspire a Netflix spin-off series and plenty of ongoing fan love. In a world where original ideas often get steamrolled by sequels and reboots, Home managed to hold its ground and float high on its bubble-powered charm. Ready to embark on an intergalactic adventure with Tip and O? The 2015 animated film Home is available on various streaming platforms, making it easy to enjoy this heartwarming story from the comfort of your own home. For subscribers, Home is currently available on Netflix, allowing for unlimited streaming as part of your subscription. If you prefer to rent or purchase the film, Amazon Prime Video offers rental options starting at $3.99 and purchase options at $14.99. Similarly, Google Play Movies provides rental and purchase options at comparable prices. For those who enjoy collecting digital movies, Home is also available on Movies Anywhere, allowing you to purchase and stream the film across various devices. So, whether you're in the mood for a cozy movie night or looking to add a delightful film to your digital collection, Home is readily accessible across multiple platforms. Gather your loved ones, prepare some popcorn, and get ready to join Tip and O on their unforgettable journey